Hello visitors of the internet and welcome to episode 1 of Stairway Mountain Hill Climb, which is very similar to Stairway Mountain Time Trial, only everything about it is less terrible. Also we have some people which are kind of floating, but still, we'll let that go for the time being because we have a car with no headlights. That's because this week we are going to have a theme in the same way as the Time Trial series, only this week it is high performance and we don't have a countdown. Okay, so we have not over-rev damaged our vehicle, and basically I've already made a few attempts at getting this up the hill, but it didn't work for one reason or the other, and oh dear. Oh, quite kind of twitchy there. Just about found grip in it, but that's just what flooring it at the wrong moment can do. Now I did wreck the car into a barrier just round this earlier section of the course, or what would have been the later section of the old Stairway Mountain Time Trial. Oh, bum, bum. And that was not nice, but that was supposed to be captured on video. For some reason the recording stopped, probably when my GPU stopped, though I will be honest there. My GPU just crashed at one point, and I had the recording stopped there, I think. Either that or I stopped it in advance. I think it just stopped there. And it is veering to the left, so I might as well restart. But you see what I mean? That barrier can be nasty. This car is particularly sensitive on that one front corner, so it's a particular case we have to be careful with. Now here we come up to it again, and hopefully I won't wreck my car. Now before, what I got lucky with was my line. I just didn't mess up significantly like that. I think I was just in too high a gear and it kind of slowed the car down massively, so I couldn't carry too much speed. It was the same basic idea really, just don't go too aggressive in there because otherwise it will punish you, and that really hurts. When it does try and punish you, it can really hurt. Now, I've not damaged anything, though, on this vehicle, so I should hope it's going to handle well. Ooh. I'm not sure if I damaged it here before or not. And again, with this vehicle, you just can't take a knock to the front, or it's going to really affect the steering, and I just don't want to drive it to the end like this because it will hurt the time too much. Into this sharp corner, can we hopefully stabilise it somewhat? Whoa. I don't want to go too fast, but then I don't want to go so slow that it's going to hurt my time. That's the issue here. The issue is the balance is just so fine, and oh no 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 no. I kind of went a bit on the dirt too much there, and oh dear. I remember this section actually now being a bit bouncy. I do remember. Now everything is coming back to me. This is a very curvy section. It was never particularly intimidating though, particularly not in this direction. Up here we go. All the signs are facing the wrong way, which is reassuring because I know I'm following the speed limit that way. And oh, this sign isn't facing the wrong direction. Oh dear. That wasn't too bad actually. I was thinking that was going to end up a lot worse. It is firmly sprung, as you'll tell, but I'm not noticing any hugely bad problems caused by the suspension, although you can see obviously I'm getting shook about as a driver. There's not any worse than that to come. It is, as I say, this is a very good run here. I've not hit anything, at least not significantly enough to damage things. I've hit some bumps and stuff, but oh, I should probably slow down. I just hit 100 miles per hour there, remember? About 77 I was hitting before with a damaged wheel around here. We're able to hit more naturally. Oh. No, 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 no. Try and balance this out somewhat. Yes, third gear, and we can just floor it through most of this. Although it can get quite aggressive if I recall correctly and throw you off. I just don't think this is near as intimidating uphill. I think it's mainly downhill when you've got all this speed going through these corners that it really hurts your time and your car, actually, for that matter. Second gear, I think we can come into here, as most of these corners are second gear corners with this car. I wonder what time this will set as a benchmark. It should be quite interesting. Now, here is another straight that's very good for speed. This one was, even downhill, not intimidating, though. We're not going to hit 100, but 92. That is some solid speed, and I just about get it slowed down in time. That was not good shifting, though, by me. I was in the complete wrong gear. Oh, can we get some speed up here? Yes, it looks like we can. And I think we've got some music playing from one of the houses around here. Yeah, that's something I remember. Oh. Try and keep it to the outside, I think is good. Probably won't go crazy on me that way. Then to the inside, on this corner. Oh. Move to the outside a bit. The outside lines seem safe with this. I'm noticing that right now. If I take the outside line, I'm generally fairly safe, as long as I don't go on the mud. The mud can mess it up, being a relatively powerful rear-wheel drive vehicle that doesn't weigh a huge amount naturally. I feel it should have a roll cage, to be honest, but then I guess if they're trying to make it seem like a car from an era that doesn't have a roll cage. However, it, I believe, doesn't have, it does have a turbo. Right, that was a terrible, there's a terrible driving on my half. But we are able to somehow get going, and I don't think it's damaged, so I'll keep driving this, although I would likely redo it for the final time. So that time we'll move it up slightly. Oh no! Hey, I got the right camera angle at least. And we landed it back on the road. How is that possible? Of all the places, we land it facing the right direction on the road with all the wheels relatively intact. Very strange. Back into the higher mountains as it is, and let's hope I don't crash this. I had a minor collision, would you call it, with a wall earlier, and I got out of that just fine. Minor steering damage. But other than that, just fine. Ooh. I had to say something, didn't I? Really, after many runs, all it took was a tiny hit, and that's annihilated the front axle. Okay, so seriously, I am slightly scared now and slightly laggy at the same time. Whoa. How did I do that? I don't know. I just slammed on the brakes and somehow it didn't crash. I think that might be the first time we made it past that corner. Oof. That was aggressive. Thankfully, I was gentle on the power, so I didn't get any crazy oversteery artifacts, would I say? Although artifacts is used more with referring to GPUs than it is referring to car handling characteristics, and I'd somehow got into neutral, which is not what I want. It is veering ever so slightly to the left. I did have a tap on the wall, and that's okay. I've worked out that's okay if it's ever so slight, and I can adjust for it easily. Any worse than that, and that's where things start to go wrong. Round here we go. Oh, I'm going very wide there. Oof. Very harsh on those bumps, but we have survived it. That's what suspension is for, after all. Even if this suspension is a bit firm and not as optimised for that kind of mud trekking, it did deal with it. We're going very well, actually, so far. We've got some people cheering for us. Or are they jeering for us? I don't know. It sounds a bit like jeering when you get close to the sound, so maybe they just don't like me. It's always possible, you know. I have trashed many cars, so if they're particularly Guan fans or Miramar fans, it's possible I'm making them very angry. However, all in all, I think we're going to get to the end soon. This is like one of the last stretches, should I say. and the last bunch of corners before the final finish line. A lot of these corners look alike, so, you know, it's easier to just chain them into a straight line, and oh dear. Was that, if that was what I thought it was, and it just crumpled the bonnet just a little from the direct front of the car, that might not be so bad. It feels like it's steering okay. I was just trying to stop it, and was this where it went wrong before, or was it back there? I don't know, honestly. Oh, is this where it is? Is this like the final level we're hitting here? I think it is. The final kind of hill, that's probably the better way to describe it. And up here, we'll go. It's almost like deja vu from the Leaderboard earlier. As we go around here, and... oh, yep, we got that checkpoint. Across the line. There we go. 8:16. Not too bad, actually. So, for my 70s choice, I have a NASCAR. It is actually a Moonhawk as well. I believe this pushes over 400 horsepower, if I remember correctly, so not an underpowered vehicle by any chance. It also apparently belongs to Jeff Petty, as it's on the boot there. Sorry, I would turn the camera, but it's being funny. There we go. And let's get started, see how it goes. Whoa, don't want to overrev damage. Got a shift up there. Yeah, I noticed the power and the torque immediately. I believe this should handle better than the, what's it though? Ibishu, because... oh. Not a good start. We've gone off already. Let's not go off at this first corner then, shall we? That should be a better way to take it, that's for sure. There's just so much power and so much torque. The rear wheels can't cope with it. Whereas with the Miramar, I feel I was able to have the rear wheels deal with it. Oh no! This is not working out well. Too much power, just too much raw, aggressive power. So, let's try this again. We have to remember it's a very powerful NASCAR. And although I'm going to floor it here, in an attempt to get the speed out of it, when it comes to corners, oh, I think we're going to have to be more gentle. Although I still don't believe we have ABS, this does feel more stable under the brakes. It feels less likely to lock up, which sounds odd to say, but it does. Oh, this is Larry. It's a big, scary mobile. It actually has a ladder frame as well, as opposed to the unitary. So, in the case of a Miramar, that was more advanced, despite being older. Well, at least in that particular case. In other cases, it probably wasn't. Like, I think this has coil springs instead of the life leafs that the Miramar, I think, has. So, better suspension potentially, but it's technically not as good under the chassis front. Gentle until I know I can put the power down, like now, and look how quick we can get to 90 easily. The Miramar did have some speed to it though. I mean, that cannot be denied. So even though this has the power, even though this just has a huge amount of power, it's not quite as composed, I would say. But then I know where it is. I know how it's trying to wiggle out of shape, and I'm able to contradict it quite easily. Also, the softer suspension, makes it easier over the bumps. Whereas the Miramar, you could chuck half a car into the air and have it feel like it's going to tip over. The Miramar never actually tipped over after having one or two wheels on the dirt, but it felt like it would. This doesn't. And I have smashed the front up there, but you'll notice we're still steering relatively okay, although it is veering to the right. I'm not sure whether it's the chunky tyres we have on these race cars or something, but I'm sure the normaler versions don't. Yeah, I got a bit too aggressive, honestly. We are just fine, though. We're parked up here. Anyone want a sandwich? Okay, so this is not as gently as I would like into here, and we amazingly haven't hit anything. Yeah, I'm trying to be a bit more gentle here, but you'll see that I was just flying at the wall, hard on the brakes, and amazingly I didn't hit anything. I think this car just has too much power. It's probably a realistic way to put it. Because I can use at least some of the power, and then we've gone wrong at the same place. I can use so much of the power, and then there's just so much that I can't use without it just doing that. I mean, I was expecting it to be a lot easier to drive than this, I will be honest. Right, now, I'm not sure what part of the course I'm at. Is it? Yes, this is it. So, I'm hoping we can make it this time, as you'll see. My car does have some battle scars, but I don't believe it's affecting handling. The only thing it may affect is high-end aerodynamics, and that's not really gonna matter too much on this course, because we won't get over 100. Not much, at least. I say that. It is over 400 horsepower in this, so we have to be wary of that. Oh dear. And another hit at the front would never be good. I'm just going to say that, and it's going to happen. Oh, you'll notice here, though, I'm in second gear, and I'm getting away with it. That's because I'm using nowhere near the power that's technically available to me until I floor it, and then when I do that, I can. Oh, you see that? Oh, I think I did that before though in the Murmur actually. I just slammed on the brakes and it kind of helped me out of the corner because I was able to actually get away with it for once. Oh, it's just, the thing is, there's only so much power you can use most of the time, and then the rest of the time you have to be fully careful on the power. You can sometimes use the full power though. Don't get me wrong there, you can sometimes use the full power, you just have to be very careful as to when you use the full power. Like here, for example, is probably one of the better places to use it, and we're easily exceeding the Murmar's speed at 107 there. That's about 8 miles per hour faster than the Murmur would typically get. So maybe not the hugest amount in the world, but the speed is here. It's just a case of getting the speed under control. The problem with this car is it's naturally just a lot larger than the Murmur, hence a lot more difficult to keep all of that power and weight under control. Oh, and slop it around as we do. 90 miles per hour there, that's not bad. Yeah, the speed is definitely here. And I think on this next straight we're going to see some power come out of it, that's for sure. Shift down to second, gently help it round the corner, and that's fine. Accelerate. Because we're on the tarmac, there's kind of not the same struggle for grip. I think, yep, we're hitting over 100. Oh, that seems to be something this is doing a lot more than the Murmur, though. I'll say that now, just hitting signs. The Murmur was small enough to avoid them, but there, I just tried too much speed and it went wrong. And onto this straight, just round the corner. Let's hope we don't crash this time, because that would be ideal. I think if I'm gentle onto here and then floor it out onto the straight, that's got us a good one onto here. Should be able to get over 100 before we need to brake. Like so, and there we go. I was seeing about 108, and then I really had to stop because you saw how close I was coming to that sign, and oh dear. Just slightly gentle uphill, and then I think, again, we can floor it because we've kind of established our grip by that point. It's about establishing a relationship with this car. Otherwise, it won't like you at all, and it'll cut you out of its power band. There we go. There's a musical house. I think this could be properly quick, to be entirely honest. I do think it could be quick. It just needs to maintain more stability. If only it had better tyres, but then I guess if it is a 70s NASCAR, it would be on 70s tyres, which makes sense. You'll see there does seem to be some damage to my car, but nothing major. Honestly, all the ones are kind of merging together now. It's just whichever one I cross the finish line on will be whichever one seals the deal and seals my work with this car, I guess you could say. Gently through here. Oh, gently. I had to slow down a lot there. First gear, you'll see, I am just about spinning up the wheels. If you're not spinning up the wheels, you're not doing it right, because you want it to be, you want the power to be at just the point it's spinning up the wheels, but no more. That way it has grip, but it's not too little grip to mess you up completely. Oh dear. Wobble, wobble, and first and second gear are getting used here far more frequently than I would have suspected. Oh dear. I am not feeling content with this. I am feeling very scared of the car around this zone, actually. Oh, you'll see I might have even got a bit of airtime off that mud bank. I'm largely keeping it on the road, though, which for such a large car, I guess is impressive. As I said, it could be quick. And we do have a roll cage this time, yes. The Murmur didn't have a roll cage. I'm not sure if that's helping with the handling at all. In Forza, definitely it would help. Here, it might just be a safety measure. Here we're flooring it, as I was able to. I just had enough space. I mean, I'm not sure which car is going quick, because you'll see that's a wheel speed down on the bottom right hand corner, so it's going to fluctuate quite massively, as naturally the wheels are spinning quite a lot but not putting power down. So say one wheel could be spinning loads and just putting power down to nowhere. It's about balancing it out, kind of where we actually are for power and where we are for speed. Ooh. Yeah, trying to accelerate and brake there in a very short distance did put me at an awkward angle to the wall, but I'm out of it and pulling out fine. And oh, yeah, you'll see there's the benefit of the softer suspension. I can just hit mud banks like that, and the car is very tolerant of it. The car just deals with them without asking questions. Yeah, it doesn't ask why I'm driving that close to a mud bank, it just puts up with it. And in a lot of cases I do drive that close to a mud banks so I can achieve a better time, or so I can avoid a wall, either a rock wall or a concrete barrier, and that will help protect and preserve the car in general, just so, you know, it's not destroyed. This can also take a bit of a beating more than the Murmur, I would say, as in the front corners, they're not as vulnerable. They're more shielded, although still, if you hit the front corner hard on a concrete barrier, it will wreck your car's steering. That's not the case as much. I had far less trouble than the Murmur, actually, on that section. I did that first time, just the higher uphill sections. That was the first time I've gone through it, and they're all done. I'm not going to throw it away here now, that would just be stupid. So it's better to just go gently and then floor it at the very end, where I know car damage don't matter too much. So it's done well, but it's still far below the Murmur, probably due to how much difficulty I had putting the power down. So next up we have something very firmly sprung enough in fact to smash the windows up on spawn up. Thankfully the windscreen is still intact, so it should still be largely drivable, although the visibility of this has never been particularly good. Let's see how things go. And off the line. There we go, just had to take a moment to think there, because it's not the easiest thing to launch a car here while keeping the revs high and everything, and oh dear. Immediately the visibility is hindering me. Oh, there's all the power. Mind, having said that, oh, with the two other vehicles I've had today, this is not actually bad at all. This is very easy. Now, here we are, round this corner. Will we actually make it? Yes, we will. That's immediately an improvement. And round, oh, we so almost actually just carried that out. I'm crashing every corner as it stands. Okay, so here we come up to the corner, and I don't know where I want to be with the turbo. That's the problem. Is the turbo my friend? Is it my worst enemy? I'm really not too sure at this point of the course. The turbo, I do want to try and use it because the vehicle has huge amounts of power, and on the initial straight even, I've managed to mess things up on subsequent runs, which I won't be showing because basically it's me crashing into a wall. But it's so annoying, and you know, the vehicle is capable. It does have a lot of grip, but where to find that grip is really the question. And you'll see how low I sit. I sit so low, it looks like the top of a concrete barrier is above the car completely, and that is not really what we want. Second gear around here, very nice. Actually, we're doing Miramar. It was so neat through there in second gear. Nicer than the Miramar too. Ooh. And you see, that's what I mean. When it's good, it is really good. But when it's not good, the thing oversteers and just out of control, really. The levels of speed this is capable of, they're truly wild. Help! I somehow got lost. How did this happen? Okay, so I'm noticing a strange old thing about this car is, on some occasions where the turbo's not really spooled in or where you found grip, you can absolutely floor it without any concerns at all. On some, you have to be very, very careful, like in first gear here, where there's just far too much torque for the rear wheels. It'll just spin them up and throw me off the course or throw me into a mountain face or whatever. Now, realising this, I'm thinking I might be able to get further up the course, just knowing this bit of knowledge that I didn't know a short while ago. Oh, I was feeling like quite a harsh bump there. It feels almost like we've got ABS here, although it doesn't look like we've got ABS. We have got a very long nose which performs a important aerodynamic role, and I'm concerned about what I've done to it now. We don't seem to be getting stuck, so that's progress over my worst fears. Oh, boingy boing. And we've somehow made it through this section, okay? That is something. Oh, come on. Got a kick of understeer there. Just about finding the turbo here. Is this where I want to be? Wound such a tight technical part of a circuit? Maybe not. But I can do this and then I can shift into second, and two wheels on the dirt. It's not ideal. Slow it down, slow it down, slow it down. Yep, armed with the knowledge that I have of how this drives, I'm beginning to understand it. I understand it a bit less now. But the positive sides of this are, just look at how resilient that front was. It took 2 hits there before it was kind of deactivated, so, you know, it still turns somewhat even. That is better than the Moonhawk and the, I forget its name, Miramar. So, progress has been made. Progress has very much been made. Okay, so have I gone over here yet? I really don't know, but it's quite a lumpy section of the course. And I'm over here, no problem at all, actually. This is going well. You'll see here, first gear, maybe, but I am going through first gear very smoothly, and I should just gently be able to get it up here. It looks like I'm really being careful, I would say, but although I am being careful, I feel I can still extract incredible speed from it, because the car has shown it before, even though at times it can seem too intimidating and like too poor in order to achieve the times you're looking for. I feel it can still extract the grip from the chassis that I would like to achieve of a high performance car. It's just maybe got a bit too much power, but it still has the chassis of a high performance car and the driveline of a high performance car. Woo! 112 there without even really trying. I just had to slow down because I didn't want to go into a corner too dangerously quick. But that was without trying. I was able to hit 112 and oh dear. That dirt. That's what I mean though. Just get 2 wheels on the dirt and it can mess you up. Especially when you're in a car of this kind of caliber and of this kind of pace. I'm in second gear at the moment. I am not looking at the tachometer because there is far more important things for me to look at. I just briefly glanced at it there. It wasn't much of an issue, so yes. I have no idea how quick I'm going specifically, just that the vehicle is reasonably stable and that's important. And now we're in first gear. I know that because I shifted down, not because I'm looking at what gear I'm in. Oh, it's just looking, really. I get scared. The road straightened out there and I could look and whoa. I don't want to look. Whoa. Ow. You see, when I said I don't want to look, that's why. I knew how crazy fast this vehicle was going to be going towards that sign. And although the brakes were ultimately able to save it from a safety perspective, you know, you're not going to get hurt in this crash particularly. It'll be a shock, but you won't get hurt. And yeah, it's not exactly where you want to look at the speedometer. Okay, so coming up round here, we have to preserve the car, because basically that's what I've been trying to do for too many attempts now, and I'm going to mess up really badly if I'm not careful. Oh, I just about managed to save it there. Come on. I would have said it's too far gone there. Had the corner not been as angled as sharply as it was, I wouldn't have got away with that. Right, now I'm not going to watch the speed, but I'm going to make a difference here. I'm going to brake earlier, much earlier. There we go. I was at a very odd angle for braking, but I think because I left myself loads of space, I was fine. You see, I got caught in the lag though, and then the turbo came, and there was just too much power. That's the main problem with this car. Well, I can't see over a lot of these hills anymore either. That's another problem. Oh, the hills are just so steep that when you've got basically a letterbox for visibility, you can't see a thing. I can see about the road ahead of me and maybe a few rocks at the edges of it, and that's it. And whoa, it got a bit tail happy there. Bit squirrely, and there's a sign. We do not want to hit the sign. I just shifted up out of caution. And in this corner we go. It looks fairly neat round here, thankfully. Some of the bumps can drive it a little mad, like if they're there at a particularly high speed part of a course. Slow it down. Oh. Oh, come on. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I got round the corner, which is more than can be said for a lot of previous attempts. Oh. Really, it's just run cautious at this stage, I think. But I don't want to shift up because I do want to stay in the power band somewhat and at least get some of the power put down, even if it's not the whole thing. Right, so there we go. You can probably hear the turbo going on and off now. There we go. As I say, far too many attempts. Ooh. Just a corner like that. Really? We're going to end it here. An otherwise great one. Okay, so here we're going up to these higher roads, and they're very close there, but I didn't quite throw it away. I've worked out if I try and keep it in the higher rev range in first gear, there's kind of less of a kick in, and it's actually less intimidating, weird as it sounds. The disadvantage, well, naturally that. The disadvantage is shown here as I crash once again. Can I reverse it out? Yeah, I can kind of get it out. By the time I will have got it out, though, I will have lost so much time anyway, so time to restart. Okay, so here we are, returning to the kind of higher up parts of the course, and so far things have gone well. I had one bit of a collision with a rock there, but I don't think it's done any major damage. And I think we should be able to get to the finish line now. I think I've just about learned the car. Oh. Yeah, as I say that, it is a very scary thing to drive. Well, no. We don't want to be in neutral, no. Yes. Do anything, like, I think it's broken now, but I'm willing to do anything I can to just try and get this thing to the finish line. as the power kicks in there. The steering is pretty broken. I think some of the bodywork might be in the way. And oh dear, I'm in first gear with no drive. All I can do is wait at that stage. Oh, just use full lock. I have still got some steering, thankfully. One of the wheels must be in contact with the road. And that's good. One of the front wheels, that is. Both the rear wheels seem to be making contact and putting power down. Just the front ones are what I'm concerned about. To be honest, weird as it sounds, I think around this part of the course, I may have improved the car with my damaging escapades. Try not to hit the wall if I can. Oh dear. There we go. And brake into here, accelerate, floor it. I'm flooring it and, well, there's just nothing. And then, really, there's just nothing. And then suddenly, when I get the power, it's at just the wrong moment. Also, it's always the white headlight that seems to go. Into this corner we go. Will it go wrong? I don't know. But I feel like I've probably got it as good as I can. I mean, I slightly messed up this lap with some scruffy driving. However, I've just about managed to keep it pointing the right way, which is my real priority at this stage. And I've not hit anything in a dangerous way. I'm going for it anyway. I mean, I know it's kind of dirtied my lap now, I guess you could say, but I have needs. I have needs to fulfill, so a minor bump on a sign will have to do. Oh, it's just such a complicated vehicle to get my head around that I can't quite understand. It's just feels like it's not quite got enough grip, and that's the problem. It's almost got enough grip for this course, but it's just never quite enough, meaning you can always catch out. I'm in first gear now, but I have to be extremely careful as not to cause anything to happen. Oh, right, that was a horrible bumpy section. Thankfully I was out of the turbo, because if I was in the turbo, something could have gone wrong. The chassis does feel twisted. However, it doesn't feel like any really major damage is done. It just feels like I'm dealing with kind of off steering. Yeah, I did have some bumps on the front corners, but they were never really huge aggressive bumps, so I think I should be fine. If this is what... It's not quite the part of the course I'm thinking it is, but it still looks like the near to the end parts. I was just zooming around with the kind of fly camera, and I could see that this is almost the top. I think we're going to make it this time. As I say, it's going to be slightly ruined by that sign, but I'm willing to accept this because it's been so difficult to drive. I'm not going through anything else. Had a bit of a scrape there, but again, it's not enough to completely debilitate the vehicle. Slow it down. I've never got out of second gear much. Maybe on the first straight, but except for that, it's been in first and second gears the whole way. So, our wheel isn't supposed to be here. But anyway, yeah, you'll see the result of it. It's not pretty. And I suspect that is what happened a lot of the time. Like, maybe we had traction from this one wheel here, but then this one is just off the ground completely. And it's just not doing any good that way. The interior, well, that survived well, as you would expect. It's got a full roll cage. Do any of the lights still work? Yeah, we've got one working rear light and one working headlight, both on the left. The right must have taken most of the abuse. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. The car did a 8:12 time. It's impressive. I can't deny that, but the fact that it's only beaten a Murmur with just over 200 horsepower, or just under maybe even, when this has got something like 700, 600. I expected more. I expected a lot more from it, and it just didn't deliver. Still, I'm thinking the next car from the 90s will actually be a lot quicker than this then. Because if this was quick, that drivetrain in that should be remarkable. So, here I have my selection for the 1990s. It is a hill climb Pessima. Second generation Pessima, that is. And it's perhaps more intimidating than you might think. There is 650 horsepower in this, so a decent amount. And, you know, I think on par with that supercar we just had. However, this I know for a fact is going to beat it because it's got all-wheel drive to put that power down. So even if there is turbo lag, you know, it's not going to hold the car up as significantly. And, whoa. That was a mistake. Let's just restart. Nobody saw that. So, how I would generally launch the Bolide, I would generally kind of build the revs up and then slow it. And it's strange. It's a strange phenomenon coming to this because suddenly I don't need to worry. Suddenly, visibility for a start is a lot better, but also suddenly there's just so much grip available. It's craziness. Oh. There I was a victim of the grip. It didn't actually damage the car as such. Well, it did a bit, but not majorly. And I guess that's the problem with having a splitter up front. But that was just really me overjudging the corner and thinking I could carry more speed than I could. It is impressive, but it has limits. So round we go again, and these cars handle with all-wheel drive better than you might suspect. There you'll see there was turbo lag, but because we have the power going to all four of the wheels, it doesn't particularly destroy the handling characteristics. It's wobbling about a fair bit on the suspension, but that's fine because the suspension's doing its job. We are at the 90s by this stage, so the suspension is advanced enough to deal with the circumstances that it's going through. Just slow it down into this corner. Ooh, bobble bobble, and ooh, bump. That's quite aggressive, mind. The suspension feels better than both the Moonhawk and the Bolide. Weird as it is to say, it feels like it might be the best compromise between the two. Although it could just be the fact that it's more advanced. As I say, it is 90s suspension. We can accelerate here to, oh, truly ridiculous levels. The Bolide, remember, could hit those speeds technically, although you had to be careful. You had to be extremely careful. Like, this is only the second one I'm getting into these parts of a course on. The Bolide, maybe I did, but if so, it was from being extremely cautious. And whoa, there's an epical downforce playing on the car and pressuring it to the road, because I was not feeling that kind of downforce holding the Bolide down. Although it could also have been the all-wheel drive system. Yeah, these handle well with front or all-wheel drive. I'm not sure how they would handle with rear-wheel drive. If there is a rear-wheel drive variant, I might have to take that up the hill someday. Need to remember, I'm not saying down anymore. Slow it down for this rock face. We don't want to hit that. Accelerate out. Whoa. Slow it down again. The brakes are very good. Nothing really to complain about. It sounds odd, but there just isn't. There's a bit of understeer, but then that's to be expected when you're putting this level of power through your wheels. Oh, is this the corner I think we're at already? 120 miles per hour into it. It seems to be hitting more or less the same speeds the Bolide was. Only we were able to actually carry corner speed, because although this doesn't technically have the cornering angle the Bolide had, the Bolide definitely had more steering angle available. This has just sheer grip on its side. Look at this. I'm able to floor it through here for actually a fairly significant amount of the course. And it's not falling apart on me. Part of that is the all-wheel drive. Part of it's the downforce. It's just collectively a very nicely set up vehicle. Oh. Second lap, remember? And we're already this far. The first lap, I made a bit of a mistake. And that was my fault entirely. However, onto this second lap, we might be a little slower up here, or give the Bolide that credit where it's credit's due. the power, I think, is slightly better there when it comes to pushing it, but for the sake of about 5 miles per hour on the straights, this car really does make up for it everywhere else, and then some. Because again, you'll see there, would the bolide have slowed it down? Perhaps not. Oh, I think I might have broken something. No, we're still going. Okay, if it's broken, it's still going up the hill regardless. I might have lost my front lip. I wouldn't be too surprised by that entirely, because that was a vulnerable part of a car, let's say. We'll have to see at the end if it's still attached. Well, why aren't I accelerating more? I mean, this can handle more. Even if I get this to the end, I think I'm going to try and take it again, because there's just so much more potential. It wouldn't be fair to just leave it here at 2 laps when the car clearly is so well designed and so capable that it deserves another one up the hill. Or is it mountain in this case? Oh. No, you know, I'll take it. I was pushing the car too far. Ooh. That is really nice, actually. I knew it had all-wheel drive kind of modelled, but I didn't think there was actual physical parts that moved. That is pretty impressive, actually. I thought it was just the, you know, the rear wheels kind of have traction going to them. And they've actually modelled a drive shaft. Very impressive. It also has a 200BX engine. So that's something. Can we turn the headlights on? Yay! All our lights work. If this was the bolide, we would have broken at least one of them. Anyway, time to restart and hopefully get ridiculous time out of it. Okay, so we're going back round this section again. And I'm actually feeling pretty upset because I'm going to have to get rid of this car. Oh. Going to have to get rid of this car very, very soon after I began, because it's just so good that I'm not going to be able to really drive it out as much as I would ideally like. I've also realised the suspension is, as I said, I think before, a lot more compliant. I went over one of the bumps of the bridges, which would, before, kind of disrupt, let's say, the bolide, and this, it just, no problem, it just went straight over it. Although I know the suspension's probably not perfect, you can see it jiggling about now. The all-wheel drive system at least compensates for where the suspension is flawed and kind of fills in the gaps. So yeah, it's a lovely, lovely car to drive. And you'll see here, I'm able to push relatively hard through the corner. Whoa. Well, just, I have to remember, there's only so much course and so much car to fill it. Ooh. That was a bit of a mistake. And now I'm in a field. Still, I'll get to drive it more. Yay! Okay, so I have no idea how close in particular we are to the previous crash point. I just know we're close, so I think it might even be here. Yeah, just round this corner. Ooh. I might have done the same thing again, only taken my front lip off instead of completely annihilating the car. With how little of a course to go there is left and how low speed I think it should be, we should be fine. Ooh, I could feel it slightly veering to the left. Oh, you see we've got a bit of a wobble there. That's about as bad as it gets over the suspension on this, and oh. The turbo lag is an annoyance on this car. It's gone from being life-destroying to a minor annoyance. I'll say that much now. Ooh. On the bolide, if you got in turbo lag at the wrong moment, it would have messed you up. And this, not so much, but it will really annoy you. And there we have a wall of rocks, which means we're getting close to the penultimate goal. Oh, careful, careful. Oh, I wasn't too sure what I was doing there, just kind of going straight and not cornering. There we go, final corner before we eventually start to flatten out, and we'll slow it down into here. And onto this part we go, bit of dirt, that's fine. Kind of corner cut. Wait, is this? Oh dear. Seriously though, I think we had bent the steering up slightly. But I'm going to call this a finish. I'll join you when I have a real lap time, because it's not fair to just leave it there. Still over a minute faster than the other cars by the looks of things. So, here we have the vehicle. It has set a 6:58 time, actually. I got plenty of practice, believe me, helped by the fact that my PC crashed twice. Honestly, I was able to get to the top fine with the recording software running, but then for some reason I turned everything off and it just doesn't want to do it. So I turned my overclock off on my GPU and basically I've got the time now. Anyway, you'll see here, it is a stripped out track vehicle, as you would expect. 6:58 on the leaderboard so far. It puts it more than a minute 10 over the Bolide. And it's evidence of what I've said before. Control is everything in a car. If you can control the car and use all the power, it doesn't necessarily matter that it's less powerful, because you can use what it has to such a great ability. I think this is going to stay at the top for quite a while, actually, unless I have a Formula 1 car or something. Here you'll see a 200BX engine. What button is it to zoom? I do forget. There we go. I kind of pressed and mashed the pad until I got it, but it's a 200BX engine with a massive turbo on, as opposed to the smaller turbo on the Bolide. It works. I mean, this thing grips round all the corners, and I can't really find fault with it at all. The suspension does feel a bit jiggly at times, but it does the job, so who's to complain about that when the suspension, although it feels a little odd underneath the car, is doing a good job. It's able to take some real hits as well, actually, surprisingly, without the front splitter falling off. I lost a side piece here quite early on my run, but I was able to continue driving with the other bits of the front splitter on and maintain very good speed, as you'll see by the time, which was still a minute 10 quicker than everything else. That includes the Bolide as well, which is possibly more powerful than this. Anyway, I've spoken too much, so it's time to move on to our next vehicle, which should also be very controllable, if a little slower. So, for the 2000s, I have chosen a Hirochi Sunflare 2.8 TC. I believe it's an automatic, but with a manual option. So, if we can just shift up, yes, we can get M1, which is presumably manual one. I tried a Bitroen before this, which I actually just gave up on because the wheel axle kept breaking. It was kind of a performance tuned one where I'd added a few parts to it. And this drives really nicely, actually, as I would expect. It is also all-wheel drive, although this has a 2.8 engine, as I did mention. I think an inline 6, as opposed to the flat 4s you usually get in these, or the inline 4 in the case of a Pessima. And, oh dear, we're going a bit wide. Oh! It's kind of held that. I might have done a bit of bodywork damage, but I don't think any major mechanical damage has been done there, which is all in all a fairly solid thing to have happening. We're going to accelerate. I wonder how aerodynamic this is. I like to think of this as a, how would I say it? Concept car for the Sunburst. The terms are just escaping me, and whoa! There we go. It's quite firm. It really is quite firm. Oh dear. We've broken something. I can feel it. Or I broke something and I blamed it on you. Yeah. It's a bit broken now, as that corner claims another victim. Okay, so along we go. I did turn ESC off and traction control as it is, because I forgot to do that initially. But you know, it's not like I got to the end completely. It's not really going to make a difference. And round here we go. Gently, and then floor it really into 5th gear, which is slightly higher gear. I don't know why I'm that high up. Oh, come on. It's tending to take quite well to hill climbing, I'm noticing. Noticing that right now. With the wide body stuff about it. This is, I don't know what year, but the Sunburst in general just says 2009 to I think 2014, so it's definitely a chassis from the 2000s, even if it is only just. You know, there's not anything else though with a 2000s chassis in this game, which is interesting. Where are all the Lotus Elises and whatever? But admittedly, there's only a few cars, like 10 in the game or something from standard, with just many variants. But it'll be good to see something like a Lotus Elise, and it would kind of fill in the 2000s a bit more. Oh, come on. Yeah, also, rear-wheel drive sunbursts. Where are you at? I was trying to remember there as well all along that I did try taking a DTS, a Cadillac DTS around here, but it had an engine that just wasn't mounted to the car at all, so the engine just wobbled all over the place and it wasn't really a practical car to drive. And here we are in the Sunburst. Or Sunflare, sorry. I must remember to name it as it is named, and I shifted up far too early there. I should be ashamed of myself. Accelerate into here. Yeah, this is going to be a real nice car to drive. It's not as nice as the Pessimo, it just doesn't have that kind of grip. It maybe isn't on race tyres, however, there is still a lot to enjoy about this car, and you'll see the truly rapid pace. I think this only has something like 300 horsepower. It's not gonna be as quick, as this isn't what would be later the Hirochi's engine. It's presumably a different unit, since, as I say, it is a 2.8 litre inline 6 turbo, but it is amazing to see just how quick it's going up this hill. Like, it's holding remarkable speeds. I might have to push it a little harder to get these speeds, but the speed is here for the taking if you're willing to accept that, you know, maybe there isn't as much grip as the Pessima here. The suspension will still get a bit wobbly, as we saw that with the Pessima as well. It's just, I guess, the nature of high performance all-wheel drive cars. You think you can push and push and then there's nothing left to give. I believe this has ABS actually as well though, so we can lean on the brakes a bit more. The Pessima, although cars of its era did have ABS, that being a hill climb car didn't have it. This does. This is very nice in that respect. Oh, the brakes shouldn't lock up. Oh, look at that beauty corner thingy. Just drifted it right into the corner. If only I could have held that a little better on the way out. Shift down through here. And amazingly, nothing is going wrong yet. How is this happening so well? I think I just got used to a Bitron where the wheel axles were braking at every corner, so I got used to being stupidly careful. But even compared to the Bolide, this is lovely. You know, as I say, it is below the Pessimo. I can't pretend it's better than that, but it is still better than everything else we've had today. And this is coming from someone who doesn't like modern cars. Well, admittedly, this is probably the exception. It's probably the only modern car in BeamNG that I like. And only because it's not from the 2010s, it's from the 2000s. Oh, come on, accelerate through here. Yes, lovely. The timing is going very quick, actually. There's just a few twisty corners, I think, up from this section, although they do sap time. I noticed that with a Pessima, you're able to fly through some of the earlier sections, at least with that vehicle, because it has so much power, but then you get to these sections and it's really just, you have to be fairly gentle as not to understeer. This is kind of, strange as it sounds, this is oversteer to what that was understeer on all-wheel drive. They're both all-wheel drive, but this will go to the oversteery side, and that Pessima would always go to the understeery side. I'm not really complaining about either method. I would prefer the Pessima's understeer way, I think, but there's speed to be had from one of these if you do want to drive it with the oversteerier stuff, and that is definitely useful around a lot of these tighter corners. It may be where it gains despite having less power. Like you'll see there, the Pessima was particularly weak at that corner, I think, because of the understeer, but this just about was able to get it round. It just about had the grip to carry it out in a way the Pessima didn't quite have such grip. Through here we go. Oh dear. we'll try and find a grip here. And along we go. It's just not much to speak of, really. Considering how much I put off driving a Sunburst because I thought it would be too alike to the Pessima, and it kind of is in some ways. I mean, it's not bad in the slightest. I guess I was trying to save the moment because it felt like too special a car to just throw in this early on. But then I threw the Pessima in early on. I guess that just wasn't as special as this. Either way, we're getting to the end already. I mean, we've got some minor cosmetic damage. I think it's only cosmetic. And that's about it. Oh, speed, where are you? Will we do it in under 6 minutes like I believe the Pessima did? Oh, speed. Yeah, 7:33. So it's a lot slower. However, it's still a very, very good time. And still 30 seconds quicker than a lot of cars. Just a brief look at the Sunburst at the finish line and to see what damage has been done, really. The front and rear bumpers amazingly seem to stay on until the end. You'll see we've got pretty chunky tyres though hiding beneath those wide body flares. There we go. And yeah, the front and rear bumpers, they're just parked up right next to the car here. We have a sunroof. Yes, we have some nice optional equipment there. It's actually got rear seats as well, which is rare for a very high performance car. But to be honest about it, I think it's just not got the brutal power of the Pessima, and that I prefer the handling of the Pessima that won. Other than those two smallish figures, this is actually not a bad vehicle, and I've smashed the other front light. I was just trying to see if the rear lights work. Yeah. So we broke one headlight as well. That was possibly done at the end. I mean, I just slid it across the line because it felt like I was going to go quicker that way as opposed to trying to straighten out and everything. Anyway, onto the final vehicle. So, for our final vehicle, I actually changed my mind and went with a Hirochi SBR4 hill climb. Now, although we've already had a hill climb vehicle today, I decided this was still a good choice as we had the engine mounted in the front on the Pessima and it's in the rear on this one. There you can see it just down there. And it's all-wheel drive, naturally. Now, I was going to do a ETK, what's his name? However, this is very loud. And the time down hasn't begun. And a go. There we go. And off the line we are. I've never particularly liked these to drive. It's just I wanted a bit of a variety in the driveline type. I was going to use ETK K-Series. Ooh, a bit of turbo fuss there. I was going to use ETK K-Series. However, that was just a bit more of the same, I think, with the cars we've already done. As in, it's a front-engined all-wheel drive car. This, as I mentioned, the engine is in the back, so it at least stirs things up just a little in terms of driveline type. We've not had any front-wheel drives this time around, though, because front-wheel drives are rarely considered ultra-high performance cars. I considered doing the Hatwell Racing Sunburst, but I eventually went with a Sunflare to what I did. As, I don't know, I guess it just seemed right in my mind. Oh, the Sunflare seems more like a concept car to a Sunburst, if you see what I mean, whereas a Hatwell Rally would have also worked. And along we go. Speed. Oh, come on. Whoa. This is why I've not particularly liked it. It can be quite nerve-wracking to drive. Mind, uphill it doesn't seem near as bad as I remember it being to drive downhill. Either an update has made it nicer to drive, as I remember happened with the 200BX, or it's just a lot easier to drive uphill. Oh, speed. I don't want to hit any of these bumps too hard, though, because I have a fragile front lip. Oh, front splitter, should I say. And that can get broken easily. Oh. I imagine a vehicle would have some ruggedness to it, though, and it does feel properly quick. I'll give it that. It feels quick where it is quick, and 110 through here. I just have to slow it because we've got a corner. Oh, the engine's off. That was another problem the Bitron had, and ultimately I just couldn't win with that car, so I gave up on it. But this turning the engine off, it seems awfully odd for something that's designed to have the engine kind of stressed to its limits on an uphill circuit like this, that it would just shut itself down like that. Either way, we've not broken anything, so it'll continue going, and I think I know this part of a course. Yes, it's a crazy speed part of a course. 130, that's the fastest we've gone up here. Yeah, so I think this car has the quickest outright speed of them all. It may even be the most powerful. It's just a bit of bolide in here and a bit of a 90s Pessima, but it actually works surprisingly well. As I was saying, I'm liking the way this handles more than I recall liking the way it handles. It's possible I just got used to handling high-performance cars in the game where I wasn't before, although, saying that, I have driven all kinds of crazy stuff down the hill before, or down the mountain, just not up the mountain. That's the only real difference, and I've got my controller as well instead of the wheel I was using back then, and my entire setup is just better, because I'm not gaming on a laptop, but... You know, that was an odd setup, gaming on a laptop with a full steering wheel. Ooh. Yeah. I just about threw it away there. However, for what? First one? Not bad at all that we get this far up the hill. I'm beginning to quite like this vehicle. Okay, so I can't remember if this is where I went wrong last time, or actually many tries ago, because... it's been so many tries ago. However, I can just continue from this point. And... oh, slow it down, slow it down, slow it down. For lack of any kind of ABS, never helped there. I was just about able to slow it into kind of an unharsh part of mud terrain. And that I wouldn't say saved the car, but it softened the blow. The brakes don't feel as good as I would like them to be, but I think it's just that the rest of the vehicle is so quick, to be honest. Because it's entirely rapid. It does get twitchy, I noticed that. That's why it's been so many tries, because I got that one try, I think I was being cautious, okay? And then, on subsequent tries, oh dear. On subsequent tries, that almost crashed my PC. The car had kept gliding off the course and other such matters, because it was just not enough grip on the rear, really. If I had grippier rear tyres, it would probably feel a lot better. The problem is it feels like a rear bias car, but it doesn't have rear bias tyres, if that makes sense. So either the power needs moving forwards, or the car just needs wider rear tyres, which would feel very natural on it. It can be done. I mean, in an update before the final release of Beam, I'm pretty sure they'll do something. And oh dear, the stutter is bad. The stutter is pretty bad, oh dear. But as I say, I'm pretty sure they'll do something to make it a little more controllable, since it is supposed to be a hill climb vehicle, and if you can't climb hills with it at effective speeds, it's not good for that. But yeah, the Sunflare handled very similarly, actually, I noticed, despite the driveline differences. It's just when you have this much power under your foot or finger, as it is in my case, it's so easy to mess up. And that's not what we want to happen. We don't want it to be so easy to mess up. You'll see here. Oh, there we go. The lack of understeer is good. I don't notice it understeering. And the turbo lag is here, but it's not too intrusive. And if I need to, I always have first gear to shift down to as a kind of lag reduction gear, if that makes sense. It's not much use around a regular course, but around a hill climb course like this where you have these tight corners, yeah, it helps to just have that gear there in case you do get caught out. Like there, I go into first gear and all my problems are solved, other than the one I just basically racked the front of my car under some rocks and somehow didn't break the aero. Feels like it's veering to the right, but it might just be the sheer curviness of this course that's inducing that feeling on me. Either way, I don't think it's going to matter because we're past the really high speed parts of the course now, and woo, this part already, it handled the curves well. It's just, well, high speed stuff. Yeah, I'm probably the fastest part of the course. I got a big old twitchy moment from the car, and oh dear, there's a bit of a jump. Got a big old twitchy moment from the car, and it scared me a lot. There we go, lost the rear tyre. That is good though. As I said, it has got speed, just not quite the controllability of the Pessima. So if I go to free roam, I will say I'm impressed with it. Just find the right camera angle. I am impressed with it. I knocked the rear wheel loose there, but aside from the kind of... Oh, well that was a bit annoying. But aside from the kind of tricky handling of this vehicle, it is a very good, very well sorted vehicle, and the suspension does feel better than the Pessima. I'll give it that. So even though technically it's not as well set up, you can feel the technical improvements that have been made in the time that has passed. We also have a sportier interior. This is more of a sports car. The Pessima was more of a saloon car, but the Pessima was just built very, very well. I never expected this to beat it, but the fact that it came so close is really proof of how good it is. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here for today, so hopefully I could get a good shot of the engine, and I'll say I need to get to, come on, rotate the camera. Ugh, I'm not doing it right. Yeah, there we go. And I'll say goodbye until another day.